when I went to school, I had to like essentially when I had to study, there was no electricity. We had no electricity for
Oh,
3 months.
wow.
So how would you go to your final exams when there's no electricity? So
Yeah.
I took a car battery, hooked up a bicycle light to a car battery, and then I essentially created my own system to where I could
Oh
actually
my
study when
gosh.
it's like, yeah. So, but I'm just saying, don't underestimate the human ingenuity. People will always find ways to live their life.
Welcome, Fedi friends. Fireside Fedi episode 89. I can't believe it's been this long. With me today is Samir. I'm going to get this wrong, but I'm going to try. Al-Batran? Samir Al-Batran. Okay. Samir is an entrepreneur, engineer, father to three amazing kids, CEO, founder, Fedica HQ, co-founder of Rent Compass, builder of popular mobile apps, traveler, pentalingual, and also builds tools for Mastodon. if that wasn't enough, thank you so much for joining me today, Samir. How you doing? I'm excited to talk to you. So, before we start, just to let folks know, like I have been using Fedica. I like Fedica a lot. I'm not like sponsored or anything, so all the opinions are my own. I don't think anyone would assume that's the case, but we can't hear him. Oh no. Hang on one second. You can hear him now.
Okay.
You,
Hello.
did that work? Try again for me, please.
Hi.
Yep, there you go. Okay.
Okay. Good.
So, not that anyone would think that I would, but that seems to be a thing out there. So, I want to set everything out on the table. But before we start, how did you get to where you're at today, Samir?
Oh, like how did I get? that's, a, that's a long that's a long story. I don't know. I was coding when I was a kid. I was like I think I started when I was 12 or 13.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, computers were primitive, and I was building games and software, and worked everywhere. I've gone through all, the whole .NET thing, the .com thing, the whole mobile thing. So I've worked in different industries, different fields,
Mm-hmm.
real estate, medical imaging, CT
Oh wow.
scanners, MRI mobile devices, like everything, even before the iPhone, when like the smartphone before there was an iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked in like all different fields, and then sort of 2010, 2011, I started working on social media for fun, and I loved it. So then I started coding, and at the time it was Twitter that had really the best API. So I started
Mm-hmm.
coding for Twitter, and I built apps, and I built Tweepsmap at the time. And then essentially Tweepsmap was really the best Twitter tool. I'm biased, but it was really the best
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
management tool. And then as I was building for Twitter, it was just a free tool, and a lot of big brands started to reach out to me. They wanted to do more on Tweepsmap, so I was focused on my other startup and Compass. And at the time, I was like, oh, there's all those big brands wanting to do stuff on Tweepsmap. Maybe I should focus on it. So then I actually went ahead, found a co-founder. We hired engineers, and that's the story of Tweepsmap, which later became Fedica.
Oh wow. Okay. You flew through a lot fast. What?
Yeah,
So
that was like 30 years,
so
30
you
years
were
ago.
you said that you started on mobile phones before iPhone. So are we talking
Yes.
BlackBerry or are we talking about the
No,
really crappy flip phone interfaces?
no, 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 no. It was something called Windows CE.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
you know that? Yes. So we were working on putting embedded devices on Windows CE to
Okay.
track a vehicle. So like this is also the early days of GPS before the iPhone. So there
Hmm.
was like GPSs. We put them on trucks, so then you could use them for fleet management. So that way you could track where your vehicles are, and you could fix, like, if there's something broken in the car, you could remotely log into the car and fix it. So it was that kind of project that we did
Wow.
back in the early 2000s. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, because I remember there was a Windows phone before it, and I think I
Yes.
actually
Yes.
had it, and I told my wife, I think she was my girlfriend at the time, where like I'm like, this is the future, and she's like, why? And I was like, but because this is going to be the future, having the internet in your hand. And the
Yes.
problem was that I had with it is, one, Windows did not work well on mobile
No.
devices. They were just
Yeah.
way too low powered, but also even then it was really addicting. Like I told her, like I couldn't
Yeah.
look away from my phone, and I ended up giving up my phone to go back to a dumb phone, which now we
Yeah.
can't do. Um,
Yeah.
what kind of, like, what was your first computer? At least the first computer that you loved that you
Oh,
started with?
that's fine. Well, the first computer I ever worked with was like an NEC. I don't know if you have this, but it was an NEC. It was essentially a Z80 microprocessor, and it had 64K of RAM. That was my
Oh
first
my
computer.
god! So are you talking
Yeah,
like 80s, 90s?
80s, 80s, yeah, 80s, yeah,
Okay, okay, yeah,
yeah,
because
yeah,
Z80 processors
yeah.
didn't make it through the Intel x86 era,
No, no,
right? Like
no.
when it
Yeah,
started
exactly.
taking
So
off.
this was before. Yeah, yeah. So it was like, it was well, Intel has 8080 and 8085.
Hmm.
That was like sort of 1980, I think. And
Yeah.
then the next progression was Z80, which was supposed to be better than 8080 at the time. And so that was that kind of like a fancy CPU. And yeah, and I had 64 kilobytes of RAM.
Never need more than that.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I've never heard of an NEC computer, but I did work
Okay.
on NEC, like corporate business phones.
Right.
So,
Yes. Yeah. It's
but I
it's a Japanese. It was a Japanese computer.
but I think NEC or Z80 was Spectrum. No, what was
I
it?
actually don't remember.
There was a very popular computer that had a
Oh yeah, there is a lot of
Z80.
yeah. Yeah, there is a yeah. Sorry, I say the British way. Yes. So yes. So
I
so there was a lot of computers using Z80 at the time.
do Canadians say Z or Z?
Z we say Z. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. It's
So
hard to
once
teach my kids now, but it's hard to teach my kids that to say Z because they all watch American shows and stuff,
right.
and they always go Z, and I'm like, no, it's Z, not Z.
That's
Yeah.
it's one of those things. Yet again, America
Yeah.
is helping
Yes.
spread
Yes.
the only thing, like metric versus imperial,
Yes.
Celsius versus Fahrenheit, Z versus
Yes.
Z.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I said the other day, I'm actually glad that Americans use um, kilowatt to measure electricity and not horses.
I wouldn't put it past us. Like,
Yeah.
and that's the weird thing
With
is
the-
we actually
yeah.
use all kinds of different formats, right? But
Yeah.
like NASA's completely on the metric system, and for good reason.
Yes. 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 It's
Tens,
easier to calculate. Yeah.
yeah, tens make more sense than random
Yeah.
things. So when did you start? So Fedica came from
Tweeps
Tweeps
map.
Tweeps
Tweeps
Map.
map. Yeah.
Okay.
So Tweeps map was a thing. I mean, it was a free thing in 2011. It became a company around 2015, um, and it was doing a lot of stuff. But sort of we outgrew the name as we started to do other social media
Mm-hmm.
platforms. So we really needed a new name.
Yeah.
And then the time when we were looking for a name, I mean, we were really looking for a name for like 3 years, I think. And then the time when we were looking for a name, it was like um when the whole Fediverse came around, and we're like, oh, we like the Fediverse. And then so we started to look for names that would sort of be a playing on words, so not really Fediverse itself, but
Yeah.
sort of encompasses Fediverse, because our objective was really to build a tool that really supports the Fediverse.
Yeah.
So that's when Fedica comes from, is that it's really Fediverse is a tool that does everything, but it's actually we support the Fediverse. So
Yeah.
hence Fedica came from that one.
So when did you switch over to that name?
So that was in 2023, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
2023. Yeah, yeah.
How did you? So obviously that's post E Day, right? When was E
So
Day? 2020.
yeah, so Twitter was acquired in 2022,
Okay.
and that's when we started to add support in sort of that year as well for Mastodon. I think the first federated platform was Mastodon. In
Hmm.
2022 we added support. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
So it's not. You haven't been. So at least on the Fediverse side, it's not. It's been well, I
yeah.
guess 3 or 4 years now.
Yes, it's been 4 years now. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But even if the Fediverse hadn't come around, like you were, I would assume looking into alternate platforms, LinkedIn and YouTube
Yeah,
and all that.
absolutely. So yeah, so I mean, when at Tweeps Map days, Tweeps Map supported Facebook, LinkedIn, um, for publishing,
Hmm.
not analytics. We also had Instagram publishing as well, and
Hmm.
sort of those were like the early platforms we were building on.
Hmm.
But then once the Fediverse came, then a whole bunch of social networks came with it, and then we started to go, okay, now let's start building for all those, and we started expanding.
Yeah.
We're now at 13 platforms. We're now adding a 14th one, hopefully next month.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
How do you handle? So I know nothing. I never was on standard social media. I had a Facebook account ages ago that I was forced into by my college friends and never really used it. And then Twitter, I kind of never really used that. But I do know that like the API had closed off and was very expensive to
Yes.
use. So how did you guys handle that, or were you not really affected?
Yeah. No, we're always affected. So this is not a new story for us. I mean,
Hmm.
it's a struggle for all the companies that work with social media.
Hmm.
Is that the APIs change a lot. A lot of times they get closed. Ironically, I think like we built a version of Tweeps Map that worked for Instagram, and that was in 2017, I think 2000, yeah, around 2017. Um, that's the year when, if you remember, the Cambridge Analytica scandal that came
Yes.
along. Yes, and so after the scandal, Facebook shut down the Instagram API. Essentially, like they
Hmm.
kept it, but it was very minimal. So we spent a year at the time to build that Tweeps Map version for Instagram, and that work was just gone to the garbage. Essentially, like a whole year worth of work
How,
went to the garbage.
how, how did
Um,
you how did you feel when that happened? Like, was
oh
there?
man, it was just terrible because, like, you had like you know uh, all these, like, a year of us working. You have an engineer. We are paying salaries for these people to build it, right? Like, it's not
Yeah.
just me building it. So it was like really tough for the business. Like, it was basically like um a big punch in the guts. So we had to recover from that one,
Hmm.
but not that's not the only story. I think, like, I think the story is just goes along. Like, Twitter at the time, even in 2016, 2017, they kept changing the API and closing things down, and so it was just becoming more and more difficult, like, to maintain.
Yeah.
And then when Elon acquired Twitter, they essentially jacked up the API prices to
Yeah.
something that was really unsustainable. So we were at the time we were at a crossroad whether we should
Hmm.
shut down the company, continue to support Twitter, or ditch Twitter. And I think, essentially ditching Twitter at the time, like the amount of customers that need Twitter using our service was just so high that
Yeah.
essentially it's as good as shutting down. So we decided we're going to continue to support it, but we went with a different route where we said, well, there's a lot of other companies who are essentially leaving the market because they cannot afford it.
Right.
So we
Yeah.
looked at them and we started acquiring a lot of the other companies that sort of were in the same space.
Oh wow.
Um, so when we acquired them, essentially that made our, consolidated the user base from all those companies into
Yeah.
one. So then we could really afford to really pay the Twitter, the millions of dollars that Twitter was asking us to pay them.
Oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
wow. I mean, we only look at it. Vast majority of folks in the Fediverse only look at it as
Yeah.
consumers, right? You
Yes.
have a lot of experience on the back end side, supporting development and whatnot. It sounds like a very volatile market, not just for Twitter, but as you said,
Yes.
Facebook and like
Yes.
Instagram, TikTok, all of
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So all of them. So that's why I was like, when open platforms started to show up, I was like,
Yeah.
yes, now we're not at the fate of someone who decides what we could do and what we cannot do. It's more of, this is a protocol
Yeah.
where it is published, where people can, build foundation on it. So it cannot be shut down. I mean, it might be, it might be changed, etc. Because I mean, obviously, platforms change over time, but
Yes.
at least it is open, and then you can see it. There is some sort of logic to,
Well,
why it gets removed or it gets changed in a certain way.
and wow, I have a million questions here, and they're going to be very opinionated for you. Um, First off, I mean, like, can I ask how many users, how many active users use Fedica? Me being one,
So
and it's more than that.
yes, so we have, I think the total user base is roughly 2.5 right now, 2.5 million.
Wow, congrats.
That's the total. Thank you. Active users, I actually don't have that number off the top of my head, but it's probably like 50,000, something around in that range.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
No, that's great though. And this is one of those things where any of your active users, let's say they only use Twitter or whatnot, and they see this other thing.
yes,
Have you
yes.
seen people, or maybe you can't even tell, pick up like the Fediverse stuff, like start posting on
Oh yeah,
Mastodon or
absolutely. I mean, it's like Fedica is a great introduction to a newer platform. It's like a really good way for you to discover a new platform, because as you're adding and you see like, you're adding an account and you see this like logo, and what is this logo? I want to check it out. And then a lot
yeah.
of people, I think like when we added PeerTube, a lot of people actually started to check it out what PeerTube
Ah,
is, and they're like, oh, nice. Okay, we're
yeah.
checking out what PeerTube is. So but also like it's not just that way. I think it's like a two-way street. A lot of the platforms we support come from the user request. So a lot of our users say, we want to add this platform because we publish on all those platforms. But let's say like, I want to add Substack, or I want to add, there's um, a newer platform coming up, even Lemmy or whatever. Like there's a
Right. Yeah.
federated, but there's also platforms that are not federated. Um, so some people ask us for that, and we look at it and see how many people are asking for that, making requests, and then if there's enough volume to ask for a certain platform, then we certainly look into it.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. Is like if I would ask for, Bob's social network service or something. Like it's like, yes, we would like to do that, but we looked
Yeah,
at the API, it's going to take us 6 months and you're the only one
yeah,
asking for it. There's a
yeah,
financial
exactly. Yeah,
obligation, right? Like that there's
yeah,
no
yeah,
justification for that. And
yes,
I had seen you at multiple Fedi forums. And it
yes,
was just at this last Fedi forum where you announced PeerTube, and like I was so excited because
yes,
I am trying to, I don't want to be like an influencer, but I do have to get the word out about all these things. And having something like Fedica allows me to go to one place and not have to really worry about it, right? Like you handle all the
yeah,
uploads and stuff. And it was
yeah.
brilliant.
Thanks.
It's still, I mean, it's software, so it's still a bit buggy. Someone asked me, they're like, "Oh, you talking about Fedica? Like I can't connect it to my account." And I'm like, "Oh, I think it's probably like two-factor authentication or something like that."
Yes,
And
yeah.
it is an active work in progress. What is, I mean, what is the best way for folks to kind of relay to you if they have any problems or any requests? I would assume the
Yeah, I
contact
mean, we
form.
have, if you're logged into the dashboard, there is a support link at the top. Click it and just tell us. We're very responsive usually. So if you have a support issue, just log it. Somebody will respond to you, within the day. If it's the weekend, it's probably going to be me responding to you because the employees are off on weekend.
Yeah.
But if weekdays, other team members will respond, and then yeah, just let us know.
Can
We're happy to fix that.
can I ask how large the Fedica team is?
Yeah, we're at 7 people right now.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Have you seen? And again, I'm very biased, and it's called
Yes,
Fireside Fedi, right? Have you
yes.
seen growth in like folks like myself that are on the Fediverse that are coming over, or
Like growth in number of users coming,
yeah,
or
yeah,
yeah, I mean, certainly we had 0 3 years ago, so that's
yeah.
certainly a lot of growth,
So
but I see, yeah,
there's
I think,
there's at least
yeah,
one now. I know that because I
yes,
signed
yeah,
up for
exactly,
it. So line go up a little bit.
yes. So we have, I think we have certainly thousands and thousands of users using the Fediverse that use Fedica, so obviously. Um, a lot of them are sort of individual creators or
Mm-hmm.
individual professionals that
Yep.
use it. Um, some small businesses for sure,
Yeah.
um, but not many on the enterprise side. And that's the story that I always try to push the enterprise to actually
Yet.
join the Fediverse.
Yes.
Like, why not have a Mastodon account? And when we have a discussion, they come to us with, um, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes Blue Sky. I would say like Blue Sky is actually now more like 50-50. So then I asked, why not, Mastodon, for example. And then they always have like hesitation. I'm like, we make it simple, etc. But I think that's always like a challenge to convince a larger enterprise to change their process
Yeah.
to adopt a new platform. So that is one of the challenges. But, I mean, there are enterprise customers that use Mastodon,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them pick us because we're like one of the handful of tools that do support the Fediverse.
Yeah.
But not there is not a lot of them. I think the adoption on the enterprise side is really low.
Yet. Yet. I am so positive. I am so certain that this is a yet that you're there, right? Like
Hope
there's
so.
so many
Yeah.
tools coming out, there's so much innovation coming out,
Yeah.
and for
Yeah.
those businesses that see the value in having their own system, building their own communities the way that they want, I think it is a strategic advantage. Now, I think a lot of companies though also just want easy access to algorithms and advertisements and things like that where we struggle, right? We don't really have any of that. Um, do you see any kind of advantage outside of just, it's an open protocol? Do you see any advantage with Activity Pub for yourself, like where you can just hook directly an Activity Pub or maybe even offer people like a self hosted instance or anything like that?
So I mean, us, we have too many balls to juggle. To be honest, we're a small team, so
Yeah.
I don't think that's a thing we can take on.
Yeah.
But certainly, I think like there is definitely space for that. I mean, we have a Mastodon instance ourselves, and I would love if we can outsource that one to somewhere where we could have it hosted somewhere where we don't have to worry about upgrades, etc. So that's certainly, I think, a space, and it is a bigger challenge for corporations, like the bigger enterprise.
Hmm.
What is the advantages of being on the Fediverse? Is that you own the data, right? Like, um, a social media company cannot tell you cannot post this. We're going to ban you for
Yeah.
posting this, or you have to format your post in this way. You cannot post links, or you cannot post whatever, right? There is no such thing. You own your content. You publish it in the open, so you own your data. And that was a very thing that was attractive for us to have a create our own Mastodon instance. And I think that's also an attractive thing for larger companies. I think the challenge, however, is when you go and tell them you have to install it and maintain it. That's
Well,
when they go, okay. I think that's the part where we it's really difficult for us, and that's with
yeah,
the thing. So
they
so
they
certainly, if there is services to help in that area, or at least I know that
yes.
Mastodon, for example, has a program to do like a essentially a manage Mastodon instances, but I don't know how big that is, how wide it is, where which companies use it, etc. I know some governments use it, I think.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I mean, I think that there's
Or
going to be
yeah,
a huge push towards it, but again, I've said this over and over, so I apologize to anyone that listens to me and has to listen to the same thing over and over. Where this is the same issue that Linux had. Like we look at Linux now and it owns the server market for a good reason. And we're seeing it come out into consumer products and all mobile phones are that way. Like, and there was the same argument back in the 90s. Well, I have to install this myself. I don't know what this is. I can't do it. And we need to build these tools and these services like you're building to help onboard people to say there is another way if you want to do it. And like there, as we've seen with what's played out in the courts, like, can you really trust even big companies? Can you trust your data with Twitter? Or are you just going to get sued? So that allows you to have that flexibility in that I have the safety of being able to post there, but I also have my own stuff that no one can shut down my message, right? That's really what it comes
Yeah.
down to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually don't see us like we never sell the story that you should leave Facebook or you
Oh
should
no.
leave X, etc. We see ourselves as a bridge. It's like you don't need to
Yes.
be here or there. It's not necessarily mutually exclusive. Be on all of them.
Yeah.
Spread it on all of them. And then, certain platforms would have a certain format and certain requirements.
Mm-hmm.
But when you are on your own instance, on your own platform, on an open
Well,
platform, then you could do whatever you want. There's no rules, right? You make the rules for your own
and
instance.
that's the big selling point. I think everyone's like, well, what
Yes.
what what
Yeah.
problem does ActivityPub solve? I mean,
Yeah.
ActivityPub
It's
solves
not
the
a technical
problem
one.
of
Yes.
having to juggle 15 different platforms,
Yeah.
right? In hopes you would post once and it would go everywhere. I mean, Fedica helps us with that, And so what happens to Fedica, do you think, if something like that comes to fruition, if governments force these people to open their platforms and now everyone can send one post and it goes everywhere?
Yeah, no, I mean that's a good question.
We're
I mean,
talking 20 years, I think,
the
maybe
more
longer,
no,
but
no, but even in the next year, it's Fedica will actually probably be more important because the more platforms there are, the
mm-hmm.
more present you need to be.
Yeah.
It's not your PeerTube video is not the same as your Mastodon post. You
Yes,
will still
100%.
need both, right? You'll
Yeah.
still need both. You will need an Instagram. You'll need to be where people are on that platform. Is not
Mm-hmm.
just because the format of the post is different. And I've had that discussion with even like at the Fedi forum. Um, it is essentially like the format of the post. It could mean different things on different platform, and
Yeah.
you would want to make your post to be the best format for that platform. You don't, I mean, you could stitch photos, I guess, and put them on make a video out of them, but it won't look good. You need to have a video
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the end of the day.
Yeah.
You will need to have a video, and so and then you would need to have, some platforms have different visibility or some features.
Mm-hmm.
Mastodon has polls, so I mean if you want to create a poll you need to create it on Mastodon, right?
Yeah.
um but then that doesn't work on other platforms, right? Like,
No, and
so so that's the thing. That's where Fedica comes into play, is like you could really format your post to be for that platform, and then that's one thing. And the value is really not just the publishing. The value with Fedica is really all the analytics you could do, all the management you could do. So the 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 way you can actually manage your platform, discover audiences, reach people
the
within your audience,
the
those are the
analytics
kind of
blew my mind. Yeah.
yeah. So that's the kind of things you want to go into, and then that's the value. That's where we make the money, to be honest. Not the, I mean, the publishing, we give it either free or like super cheap. But it's the value for us is in the analytics.
And it's interesting because most software developers build for their platform, right? And what I've been seeing is one of the biggest struggles is like, hey, I'm posting, on PeerTube, and then I come over here to whatever it is. And I'm like, you're garbling the post. And they're like, well, that's a them issue. And it's like, well, yes and no. It's, even though we have these platforms that can interoperate, the interpretation of a lot of these messages might not always be clear, and I interpret things one way. A perfect example of this is Mastodon versus Lemmy, and now we have the Threadiverse because they took the same exact protocol and they interpreted it a different way. And I think that Fedica is perfectly situated for something like that, to be like, you don't have to worry about the interaction. You post here and it goes out there. Um,
Yeah.
and I've already found a lot of value in it. I'm not on the analytics side yet, but I do see the value, like, especially for those running a business, right? You want to know that your
Yeah.
message is reaching its audience. And
Yeah.
I don't I want to make it very clear to people. This is not Facebook following you everywhere. This is more of I posted, and instead of having to go everywhere, seeing when people liked my post, retweeted my post, what times they did, like Fedica helps you with that. So it's still all the public information on your side. Because when I first heard it, like, let's be honest, at this point, analytics, algorithms, they have a really bad name for a really good reason, because big tech is awful and will use it however they can. This is, that's, I don't, how can I say it? Not a safer way, but I think a morally nicer way in
Yeah,
that.
I mean it's we do it in a way that respects privacy. So like
Yes. Yeah, there you go.
we don't analyze private posts, we don't analyze private data. And then the only private data we use is your own private data to mix it with public data. And that way you take a view of your private data
Yeah.
plus the public data, and then trying to understand, when you use that word, or when you talked about that topic, is it really worth it to talk about that topic if you get no engagement, or which of the topics that generate the highest engagement within your audience. So that's the kind of things, that's one way. But also discovering new people, like, I mean, it,
That's a
it could be
huge one.
really difficult,
Yeah.
right? Like if you're trying to look for, a software developers you want to speak with, or co-founders you want to talk with, you could discover them, and the best way is that we have actually discovery tools that help you either discover them within your followers. So if you want to find out, like, say, who I want to find um, a CEO who is following us on Mastodon, who has a certain follower count, you just add filters, and then we just tell you that is the person that match your criteria. Or you could say, I just want to follow CEOs who are on Mastodon, for example, or on Blue Sky. I want to follow them, and there is no way to find them. So that's the other thing you could do, is use Fedica to just discover people in general on those platforms.
And again, this is, I've talked to people. So one of the big Twitch streamers that I watch, his name's Co Carnage. Dude is absolutely fantastic. He tells this story of how he started on Twitch was just happenstance. He wanted to show his friends some games, and it took off and it exploded. And once he switched games, he struggled. Like, people were there for the game and not him. So he did this kind of analytics. He looked at, what time were people actually on that were interested in his type of games. He saw what kind of games were important. Like, he has a camera on because he realized that reactions matter. And this is all analytics. He had to do it by hand. And now you're handing that kind of stuff over for those that want to use it. And I think, obviously Samir totally sold me on Fedica, and it's wonderful, and I'm very excited. Where do you think the Fediverse is going in the future?
I mean, that's a good question. Um, I honestly see the both Fediverse and the atmosphere to be converging. There's certainly bridges
Yeah.
that are connecting them, but I think eventually probably the protocols will start to talk to each other natively, at least if not through bridges. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that really will expand sort of the user base in between the two. Um, I think it is. I was very excited when Threads added Fediverse integration. I think unfortunately that did not take off as much as it
Yeah.
should have been, and so that kind of delayed the growth of the Fediverse. But I think in general it will grow. I think
I
there is certainly a lot of people who care about their data, about their
yeah.
privacy, and want to actually do this, but their friends are still on the centralized social
Yep.
media, and so they can't leave. But I think the more users go to the federated platforms, I think the more value, and then it will take time, but it will happen, I think.
Yeah, and I mean that's why people use social network, is for the communities, right? And if your community's
Yeah.
somewhere else, you want to be there. And as for the threads thing, I know there's a lot of people that out there that just hate threads. I look at it as I don't want to interact with threads. I don't want Facebook having my data, but I think that anyone should have the right to choose. Do I block them? Do I not? Do I live there and I can talk to other friends? Like that's what this is all about, is choice. Right?
Yeah.
That's all we want at the end of the day. If you want to give Facebook everything, great, but I still should have the choice to run my own and us be able to interact with each other.
Yeah, it should be like the internet, to be honest. Like there is
Yes.
terrible websites on the internet. There's horrible websites on
Yeah,
the
and I don't
internet.
go there,
It,
right?
it doesn't mean you have to go there. Exactly. You don't have to go there,
Yeah.
but they are there. And there's different people of different opinions. I mean, the same way you might think people of a certain views that they're horrible, they might think you're horrible too. Like it's the same, it goes both ways. So I think
Yep.
it's critical to have an open platform where we all can talk and say what we want, and then the individual can choose whether you go there, you block them, or you see them, you follow
Right.
them. That should be a personal choice, and I think that's where the value in openness.
Yeah. Where do you see the future of Fedica? What's next? Where are you going?
uh, Good question. Yeah, I think honestly, I think there's two areas where we're really growing. Is we're trying to add as many platforms as we can, so there is a ton load of platforms that we can add and support, and they are in the pipeline. We're working on them, both federated and centralized, because there are still people who are still using some centralized platforms, so we'll continue to add
What?
them too.
Yeah.
um, and the other side is our goal is to really trying to make it like really really easy for people to manage all those platforms all in one place. So there's different tools we keep adding. There's tools we're adding to help you manage. There's tools to help you discovery, outreach.
Mm-hmm.
There's different tools
Mm-hmm.
that we continue to add, and I think those are sort of the two areas that I think Fedica can grow into.
Well, and just I'm on the base plan, but just seeing like the impressions thing. It's not something that I'm interested in. I'm just trying to show people the Fediverse and find interesting, cool people. But again, I know that there are a lot of people that have made their living off of this, and that is valuable information, even on the basic plan. And I feel like I'm a salesman for Fedica, but I really enjoy it. I really think it's great. When I first
Um,
saw it and I talked to you, I was like, and then you said peer to. I'm like, wait, what? This could be really helpful. And then I tried it out. And I'm like, no, this is really cool. I don't have to deal with, and I'm sorry I thought of it this way. I was like, I don't have to deal with Twitter directly, right? I could do it through Fedica. And it just makes me feel like in a better place. I don't know. Maybe that
Well,
sounds
it
weird.
brings value to both, right? Like, I mean, the
Yeah.
platforms get your content without, like, if you are a user who doesn't want to go to that platform,
Yeah.
your content is still valued in that platform, because there are still people who are still on those platforms. There's
Yeah.
still people on Threads and Facebook, etc., or X,
Yeah.
and they want to see your content. And if you're just gonna publish them on the Fediverse, then you limited yourself to a smaller user base,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No,
And
I've heard that
those
story a
users
lot.
are
Yeah.
just going to find a different creator who they will follow and get their content from. So
Yeah.
I think it's having a bridge. The bridge is all the platforms together in one place. I think that would adds value to everyone, to be honest.
Yeah. No, that's excellent point. Yeah, I the people that are on the Fediverse are already on the Fediverse. I'm preaching to the choir,
Yeah.
right? And it's cool. I get to help people meet each other in the Fediverse, but we want to all expand. We want this to grow. At least I do. There's a lot of people that don't, and that's fine. That's the beauty of the Fediverse. You can have your island if you want.
Yes.
Go at it.
Yes.
So you said something very interesting earlier, and I was going to ask this. So I'm going to ask this first, and I know where the answer is going, and I think it's an excellent point. But Blue Sky AT Proto or Activity Pub?
Sorry, which one? Sorry, the question is IAT Proto or Activity Pub?
Yeah.
Okay. I think both.
Yep.
I think both. Honestly, like as an engineer, as a
Mm-hmm.
developer, I prefer actually to build on AT Proto,
Mm-hmm.
because it makes things a lot simpler.
Mm-hmm.
It makes things a lot easier to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but it doesn't mean Activity Pub is bad. Activity Pub is equally great. It's just more complicated to work with, but it's still. I mean, it's
Well,
still a great idea. Um, so I think, uh, if we're and the Betamax versus VHS days, you have to pick
Yes.
one,
Yeah.
right? You
Yep.
have to pick one, but
Yeah.
I think we have bridges, so I think both of them can
And
exist, and they can also at some point they can start to talk to each other natively. So I don't think
that's,
I don't
yeah.
think it's an either or. I don't think it's an either or. I think it's both.
I agree. I love activity. And I've talked to developers that are like, I hate programming for AT Proto. I only want to program for ActivityPub. And it just depends on what you like. Like I like,
Yeah.
I know nothing about hardware hacking, but I like learning about the very low level stuff. This web stuff, I can't handle it. I can't handle the protocols and all that. Give me some C, give me, you know, a little SBC. Like it's all about personal taste as long as we can all communicate. And
Yeah.
there are some fantastic bridges. You know, Fedica helps with that. But in the end, as long as we could talk to each other, and I think you're right in that I see them eventually kind of merging at least enough to allow free flow of information. There have been multiple people that have told me that, like, it's the whole where do you define the atmosphere, or where do you define the Fediverse, right? And actually, I don't, are you going to be at Fedicon this year?
Probably not.
No. Okay. So I was going
It's
to
in
do,
August, right? Is it in August?
yes, August 6th through
Yeah.
the 9th.
Unfortunately, I will be like in July in BC, but it's in BC, right? Is in British Columbia.
Vancouver.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, so I will be in July. I don't think I can go back again one
Okay.
more time.
Well, I was gonna do a present, or I am gonna do a presentation on just this topic.
Oh,
Like
nice.
what is the Fediverse, right?
Yeah.
It's, and there's been a lot of talk with developers like at FOSDEM, and I've talked to other people that are like, the Activity Pub and AT Proto guys are all kind of working together. They all are looking at these problems and like, how did you solve it? Oh, we solved it this way. Oh, okay. And like that is bleeding across. There could be an opportunity where in the future, you know, Activity Pub 2 or AT Proto 2 or something like that, where they just work. And that's really what I want to get to is, I don't care about which tool I use to hammer in the nail, as long as I can get the nail in the wall, right? And that's what it
Right.
comes down to me.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah,
is,
absolutely.
is there anything else you want to talk about before we move on? Because this has been great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. I think you know, um the whole wars of protocol wars that people
Oh,
have, I think it's just people who just want to pick something to fight about
but
but I think the people who are building for the platforms really just want the openness of both platforms. And there is amazing things that are happening that are bridging, like, I mean, you know, like, Bridge Fed is a perfect example, right? Like, I mean, it's an awesome product that literally bridges the two platform.
yeah.
and and so there is a lot of great things that help you, you know, have both worlds at the same time. You don't have to pick something.
Well, and there's always going to be haters, right? There's always going to be some,
Yeah,
and I don't mean that
yeah,
like really in a negative way. Like,
yeah,
you know, when System D came out, it was System D versus SysAdNet, and then we've kind of gotten past that, and now it's X versus Wayland, where you made a perfect example of VHS versus Betamax. A lot of people don't remember this, but there was Blu-ray versus HD DVD. And there's a
yeah,
real reason you don't remember the HD DVD, because it
yeah,
lost. And there's going to
yes,
be people like, it was a superior technology. And I agree. But it doesn't change the fact that it lost. Like,
yeah, yes.
this is
Well,
not,
you know, I think, like, you know, sometimes the superior technology wins, and sometimes the
sometimes,
inferior
yeah.
technology wins. So it's just also luck, right?
Yeah. No, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Everyone likes to talk like about XMPP.
yeah,
This is not, this is a tale as old as time. But records, the Edison record was a cylinder. It lost.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
all right. Well, now for the real reason I asked Samir here is to give him the opportunity to win a prize of a lifetime. Our prize today is a golden ticket for a software bug free weekend.
Wow.
You ready for the quiz, Samir?
Okay.
I love the hesitation in your voice.
Yeah.
It's completely random and just silly, so
Okay.
don't take it seriously.
Okay.
And the first question kind of sets it off. So, favorite movie, and why is it Spaceballs? It doesn't have to be Spaceballs. I love Spaceballs, so I always ask it that way.
Okay. Yes. No, it is not Spaceballs. Sorry.
All
My
right,
favorite
the interview's
movie.
over. We're done.
Oh no, no.
Sorry, go
Okay,
ahead.
my favorite movie is Idiocracy. I've watched it like 5 times, I think.
I've literally been talking about that like the last 2 days. I love
Okay.
that movie too.
Yes. Yeah, it is
Yes.
my favorite movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Why is it your favorite movie?
Oh, I think it's like uh, it's funny because I watched the movie. A lot of people actually have learned about the movie recently, but I actually learned about the movie when it actually got
It's
released.
Yeah, me too. It's
Um,
like 20
oh,
years old
really?
now, right?
Yes, it is something like that. Yes. So it was at the local movie
2006.
theater. I've never heard of it, and I was bored with my wife. We were like trying to find a movie to go to,
Yeah.
and I looked at the movie theater, and it was releasing in like 5 theaters in the whole world or something, and one of them was our local theater, and I was like, "What? Uh, that is crazy." And I read it was like about how the movie was actually not unfinished, and they didn't have a marketing budget, so they never marketed the movie, and
No
they just
way.
yeah, so they just decided to release it to those movie theaters, and just out of luck was our movie theater was actually one of those. So we just went to watch it, and I was like, "Oh, this is the best movie ever." I cannot believe that actually it was never launched.
It's
But then, so it kind of like was a failure at the like in the box office,
Yeah.
but it took off on the internet and on DVDs. So then it was really popular that way. So that's how
Yeah.
it actually picked up. But yeah, but I that's how I found the movie. And then every time I have, a friend, or every time we hire an employee, and I'm like, this is a required watching to be an employee of the company. You
Is
have to watch it.
is that on the
That's watching.
interview question? Like how many times have you
Yeah.
watched
No, no, no.
Idiocracy?
I hire them, and then I threaten them that they have to watch it. That's a required
It's
thing.
a classic. No, and it's interesting because I didn't see it in the theater, but shortly after the theater, it released to like standard cable TV, and I found it by accident because my buddy had just I was in my 20s, and my buddy had just bought his first townhome, and him and his wife just literally just got cable hooked up, and for some reason they screwed it up, and he had like 6,000 channels. He was supposed to have like 30. And it was a time of analog to digital, and I think the company didn't fully understand that there are channels within channels. And so we're looking through it, and there's a lot of very adult stuff. And
Yeah,
one of them was at the start of Idiocracy, like right at the beginning, where it's like
yeah,
the smart versus the dumb people. And we're like, what is
yeah,
this? And it was just
yeah.
amazing. We all just sat there and were just
Uh,
gobsmacked for the next hour and a half.
yeah.
It's such a
Oh,
good
yeah.
movie.
It is very good. Yeah.
Great movie. Good job. All right. Next question. Lingual, bilingual, or pentalingual?
Oh, pentalingual is a made-up word, but
No,
I guess yes. Uh, so um, so yes.
no, go ahead.
So I it's a segue into languages. My first language is Iraqi, which is a version of
Okay.
Arabic.
Yes.
Um, Arabic languages are and they all consider them to be like one language, but they're actually not. It's essentially the difference between Arabic and Iraqi is like the difference between Italian and Latin, or French and Latin. So
Okay.
imagine there is a Latin, which is
It,
all the Latin-based languages. The
an
base,
evolved
which
language
is
from a base.
the base, yeah. So the
Yeah.
base language is the Arabic and the classic Arabic, and you don't actually know that language when you're born. So when you're born in Iraq, you speak the Iraqi dialect, and then when you go to school, then you start to learn this new language, the classic Arabic, and then it's even bizarre because we don't read and write in our own language. Like I don't read and write in Iraqi. I read and write in classic Arabic. So when I write a letter to my mother, basically I write it in the classic Arabic, and you hear the news in classic Arabic, not in your language. But when you talk with each other, you talk with your own language. So it's an interesting mix. So those are sort of the two languages I have.
Gosh.
Then I have, yeah. So it's complicated, but
No, and that's I have some Indian friends, and they're like, well,
yeah,
everyone knows. Oh, what is it? I remember the main Indian language, but like there's a
like
generalized
Hindi,
Hindi. Yeah,
Hindi.
And then, he said everyone has their own, local
dialect.
dialect, and sometimes you
Yes.
can't understand one person to another. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that sounds difficult.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So the like us Arabs, we understand if we want to talk with each other. Essentially, you might understand some of them. Like I understand all Egyptians because Egypt is the Hollywood of the Arab world. All essentially almost all movies are Egyptians that we watch. So we kind of
Really
learn their
interesting.
language. I understand Lebanese because music essentially, at least when I was growing up, was essentially all Lebanese songs. So that's you understand Lebanese. But
Oh
these
my
people did
gosh,
not understand me because I spoke this foreign language that does not that does
that's
not seem anything
crazy.
like them. But then later on, Iraqis started to have their own music, so they started to understand Iraqi. So it is complicated. But for example, if I was to speak to someone from North Africa,
Mhm.
I have no understanding of what they're saying, and I prefer to speak to them in French. It's a lot easier for me than to speak in Arabic because that's a language I know, and because their Arabic is very different.
Not to, I mean, this is going down, I guess, a dangerous rabbit hole. So you don't have to
Yeah,
answer if you want historically. Do you feel
yeah.
that this division in language is what causes a lot of um, uh, division?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's the language. I think it's the languages are really evolution of histories of the local histories of each country. Like if you
Yeah.
look into why did the Iraqi language progress so far? I would imagine like, 1,000 years ago, it was probably very close to what other people were speaking. But
Hmm.
then, Iraq has like a long history of, occupations, etc., that are different. Let's say so
Yeah.
like we've had the British invade us before it was the Ottomans that invaded us. So it's kind of a different. We use different words in our daily usage that are
Hmm.
either Persian origin or Turkish origin or British origin, versus if you look into
Dude.
um, if you look into Egypt, for example. I mean, the word "thank you" in Egyptian is "merci," which is "merci" in French,
Yeah.
because they were occupied by the French for 200 years. So it's whoever. It's really the local language. Even though you're Arabic by origin, your local language was really influenced heavily by the occupiers who
Dude.
occupied
Not, I mean,
the region.
this is blowing my mind. This is amazing. Not the fact of colonialism,
Yeah,
but like the history and understanding it. And thank you. That was incredible. This is why I
yeah,
do this, because I don't know anything about that. I'm an American. Like we don't really learn anything else about the rest of the world, save for some English history up until American history, right? Um,
yeah.
and so
It even
thank you for sure.
it gets more interesting if you go to Western Africa, like northwestern Africa,
Yeah.
where essentially they're that's why like I find it extremely difficult to speak with them because their language was completely changed. They were essentially occupied by they were French colonies for I don't know 200 years, but they were banned from using their local language. It was
Oh
illegal
my
for them to speak, so their language was essentially eradicated.
god.
So back when all those countries gained their independence, I know actually some of my teachers were actually sent to Algeria to teach them in Arabic because they did not have Arabic teachers. Like
Hmm.
they did not have the teachers to teach the language because it was eradicated. So they sent Arabs like teachers from other Arab countries to go and teach them in Arabic. So then they have their
Wow.
language back. So their language has kind of like changed and then tried to evolve back into Arabic, and it's evolved into something completely different from French, essentially.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was wow. That was an amazing answer. That did not go where I thought it was. That was great. Thank you.
No
On
problem.
to on to something completely different.
Okay.
Poutine, Saskatoon berry pie, or maple taffy on snow.
How about none of the above?
No, that's fine. Yeah. What's what do you
Sorry.
like then?
I just thought, well, I wasn't born here. I wasn't born here, so I'm
No, yeah.
technically, these things are foreign to me too.
And
Uh,
can I say
yes,
you're
but
one of the most difficult people to find any information on?
yeah,
So you did a good job.
sorry.
I saw you were Canadian, then it's like
Yes,
that's all I could find. So I went with Canadian.
Yes, yeah, no, so I guess I was, I did not grow up here. I wasn't born here. So these things, when I came, I thought they were interesting. I tried them, and they were not my cup of tea. And I tried to avoid, like, unhealthy food in the first place. So all of those choices are just not really healthy. So I'm like, okay, I don't like them.
Are you
Let's not. Let's
are
not.
you saying cheese curds and gravy is unhealthy?
Yes.
It's delicious. I love it. I thought it was so
Okay,
good.
I'm glad
I'm
you
really
love it.
yeah, that's what it is. I'm happy for you. Good.
Yeah.
Well, what would you say your favorite like dessert is then?
Okay. I'll
Or do
asking
you
me
not
all the
have
wrong questions.
dessert?
I don't like desserts because
Really?
I don't like sweet things. Um, Two
Okay.
exceptions: ice cream and chocolate. So if we were to have desserts, I would go for, I like, even for my birthday, my cake is an ice cream cake because I don't like cake.
Dude, ice cream cake is pinnacle. As long as you
Yeah,
get a good
there we go.
one, ice cream cake's pinnacle.
Yes,
Because then you don't
yes,
need the ice cream on the side. And let's be honest, everyone just wants the frosting and the ice
yes,
cream. That's
exactly.
it.
Yes, yeah.
Good
So
answer.
why not ice cream cake?
All right. Next question is, what does an alternate universe Samir do?
Oh, that's a good question. There is multiverses.
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of them, in one universe, I work for NASA, and I work in space technology. That's one universe.
Okay.
Um, Another one, I work for the CDC, and I work in
Oh,
curing difficult diseases.
okay.
And the third one, I was an architect. But that universe ended when I went to university.
No, in another universe, I'm a math teacher, and
Okay.
good luck for him because I want nothing to do with that. Um, well, I reached out to an alternate universe. If
Yeah.
if they're multiverses and they're infinite, anything can happen. But I reach out to an alternate universe. I have an alternate universe phone here. Changes from week to week. It's
Okay.
very technical. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it. Um,
Awesome.
and when I reach out to the alternate universe, Samir, he said he builds Isolationist IO, a platform that deletes your post, sends a do not reply to anyone messaging, and a dashboard line that always goes down. While our Samir builds bridges, alternate Samir builds moats.
Okay, that's funny. What Okay. How about I'll switch the question to you. What would Anthony do in an alternate universe?
That's for episode 100. I can't tell you that. I'm
Uh
I'm supposed to do an interview for episode. Everyone wants me to do an interview, and I'll answer that question on
okay.
that one. I don't have a
Okay. All
clue.
right.
Oh, see,
Okay.
they can give it like that way. These are terrible questions. That's awful. I mean, like I said, high school
Oh, they're
math
good.
teacher, but
I like
that's
it. Yes.
I come up with
No,
something better than that.
I like it.
All right, next question: red, green, or blue?
Red all the time.
Why red? Like your shirt?
Yeah. My favorite color.
Why?
I don't know. I just like red. I just like red. My second color is blue, but my favorite color is red.
Okay. No, it's
Yes.
interesting how at least in the U.S. culturally growing up, like I was always told, red is
Yes.
for girls, and then as I grew up and found out that like in like the Greek and Roman times, no, red was for men because it was blood and
Ah,
passion and
okay,
all these
interesting.
things. And now I'm
Oh,
like,
here's
come on, I like colors.
here is a segue into this. So
Yeah.
when I created a Tweeps map, it was red. It was red interface
Okay.
Tweeps map. First one, first ever one. And it was extremely popular in Spain and Latin America, and I didn't understand why.
Mm-hmm.
And so then switched it to blue later on, and it became popular in other parts of the world. So
Yeah.
I was like, well, why was the red so I thought, maybe, the Spanish people were early adopters and then somehow spread from Spain into Latin America. But then
Yeah.
I think the color, at least my theory, is that color has to do something with the go, because I think red in Spain is a strong color. It's like a
Interesting.
preferred color. Yeah. So
I'm sure
I
there's
think yeah. So there's probably some theory to that, but that's just my theory.
yeah, that's interesting. I like that. All right. And as usual, the last question would be sent to Samir telepathically. We're both telepaths, so Samir, take your time, think about the question, and when you're ready, you have to speak it out loud because the rest of the audience has to hear it. Not no one else is telepathic but us, obviously. So you ready for the question? Here comes the question.
Yes.
Okay, there's your telepathically sent question that's 100% real and you absolutely got. So take your time and think about it and let me know when you have an answer.
Okay. Um. So your question was about what was it like where I grew up as a child,
Yeah.
and so I, when I was a child, I grew up in wars. And so, unlike many of the people who are listening, I grew up. I was born in a war. Essentially,
Oh,
I
jeez.
was into another war when I was 7, and then I was into a third war when I was
Your teens.
essentially 18. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, so three wars. Um, I think I think a lot of people don't understand wars.
Yeah.
A lot of people think they are just a game or a sport of some sort, and also a lot of people um, don't understand that people have a normal life in a war. It's just uh, you get used to it. So you go into um, a war that has like every day, you go to school when there's bombs. That's a
Mm-hmm.
normal thing.
Mm-hmm.
You go to work when there is bombing.
Yeah.
You
Life
could
doesn't
have
stop, right?
Life doesn't stop. You could lose friends or family members, and
Ugh.
life goes on. Life continues because just I think the point I'm trying to say that is that humans are resilient. So no matter what you
Mm-hmm.
throw at them, humans will always find a way to continue to live, to continue to create, to continue. I learned programming in war, right? Like, I mean, it's not a thing you think of. I When I went to school, I had to like essentially when I had to study, there was no electricity. We had no electricity for
Oh,
3 months.
wow.
So how would you go to your final exams when there's no electricity? So
Yeah.
I took a car battery, hooked up a bicycle light to a car battery, and then I essentially created my own system to where I could
Oh,
actually
my
study when
gosh.
it's like, yeah. So, but I'm just saying that don't underestimate the human ingenuity. People will always find ways to live their life, to innovate, and to create new things when even in war.
I really like that. One of my friends recently, like, I'm freaking out about the state of the world, and he basically
Yes.
said, even in the darkest times, we've come to some points where some bombs almost started flying, and humanity stepped in and said no. And
Yeah.
we all have to kind of remember that it might be tough times. Things like that happen. I've talked to someone else that's in a war zone as well, and he's like, you go on with your daily life, and
Yep.
I can't begin to imagine it. And I'm sorry you had to go through something like that, but I'm happy that you're here and you came out the other side of it with such a drive and a passion for this stuff. And thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Um, and congratulations, you got every answer either correct or incorrect. Good job.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, when we went to get your golden ticket for a software free bug weekend, someone pushed text onto it on a Friday evening, and there went the weekend. So you know how that
Uh,
goes.
uh,
that was
that
the grimace of, oh god, I know that
yeah, yeah.
feeling.
That ruins my weekend now. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Samir, for joining me on this episode.
Thank you for having me, Anthony. It was a lot of fun.
This was great. I appreciate it. And everyone out there, thank you all so much. Don't stop whatever you're doing. Keep pushing forward.
Absolutely.
Remember, you're not alone. Fediverse is out there. If you need multiple platforms, Fedica is out there to help you with that. And we'll catch you on the next episode of Fireside Fedi. Thank you. Have a great one. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.